Will you be remembered after you're dead? The Z-List Dead List podcast about obscure people from history with me, Izzy Lawrence. Hello and welcome to the Z-List Dead List. I am Izzy Lawrence, and a top tip for you: if you're going to record a voiceover for your podcast, do it after you've fed your cats, for that way they do not shout constantly through it. Hi! I'm a bit out of breath, I'm a bit busy. I've been very busy recently. I'm recording halfway through the series of Making History on BBC Radio 4, which you can listen to on Tuesdays at 3:30 or download as a podcast on your podcast app of choice, but BBC Sounds is preferable because they like it. But also I've been doing the British Museum Membercast, and I think the latest episode of that is a Tudor Christmas. I don't think they've released Troy 2, Troy Harder quite yet. The Tudor Christmas one is excellent because it's full of, like a few days after Christmas, a Tudor mum and dad would go up to their Tudor child's bedroom and they'd whip off their Tudor duvet to reveal their Tudor bare legs, and then they would whip their child's bare legs because it's Christmas. That's what they used to do. They also didn't open their presents until New Year's Day. Who'd have thunk? Anyway, this episode of the Z-List Dead List isn't about, the Membercast or Making History. It's not even about my new book, which is called The Unstoppable Letty Pegg. It's out with Bloomsbury. You can pre-order it now. Please pre-order it. It'll make me feel special. If you know anybody over, it says 9+, but really we know that means 8+, and really precocious 7.5-year-olds could deal with it. And if you're an adult, basically it's like a normal book but less sex, but it's still good. You got like a kid in it who learns jiu-jitsu, you got a mum and a dad, suffragette and policeman. Oh my goodness, set in 1910 London, bit of it in Brighton as well, and it's quite violent and quite fun, and there's a lot of horse poo. Anyway, enough of that. Pre-order it now. Go to izzy.com, iszi.com. Enough of that. No, this is about spiders. Now, my favourite fact about spiders is, you know how arachnophobia is the fear of spiders? Well, arachnobutyrophobia, that's the fear of peanut butter. And who knows which kills more people. So yes, you can enjoy this episode. It is the wonderful Zainab Alec. I was up in Southport, as I've already explained, for the Being Human Festival. Very good about humanities, very noble festival, full of nerdy people who were you and me basically. People like us, full of it. And Zainab did ever so well. She actually won that evening, which, considering some of the calibre of the other speakers, was very good indeed. And I know why she won, because this is a lovely story about Spiderman. Who can?
For some time now, I've been quietly enthusiastic about a man called T.H. Savory, who was born on the 28th of April, 1896, and died on the 27th of November, 1980. T.H. Savory was a person who was himself quietly enthusiastic, specifically about things that many people find that they are absolutely not enthusiastic about, that is to say, spiders. T.H. Savory was an arachnologist, teacher and linguist. Please listen carefully and then vote for T.H. Savory to be raised from Z-List to Dead List. Also, please don't worry because there are no live spiders here, just some images and names of spiders, but no actual real spiders that can touch you. In Australia, some people really hate spiders and it drives them crazy. I know this for a fact because I read an article in the Sydney Morning Herald that reported that police were called to a house in the Sydney suburb of Wollstonecraft after neighbours suspected domestic abuse, having heard sounds of furniture being thrown and a man shouting, "I'm going to kill you, you're dead, die, die." When the police arrived at the house, they discovered that, in fact, the man had been shouting at a spider, albeit, as he told them, a really big one, and chasing it round with a can of insect spray. I don't think T.H. Savory would have done this. I know about T.H. Savory because I read this book, the true book about spiders, which was published in 1965 and of which he is the author. First of all, it's very nice to read a book that's true, isn't it? So let's give him some kudos for not telling lies. Next, he maintains an aura of both mystery and authority, doesn't he, through the use of his initials T.H. Although I've now come to know the truth about his names, for a long time I wondered what the T and H might stand for, and I don't have a middle name myself, so the H in particular was quite exotic. I found I liked him for not giving too much of himself away and letting spiders and the truth be the stars of the show. And I can't say that when I did find out what his initials stood for, it added anything to my understanding. So let's give him another point, more kudos for a certain understated charm. Here are some things I know about T.H. Savory from reading the true book about spiders. I know that at the end of the First World War, when he was 22, he was in Wales thinking about spiders, specifically the Pholcus phalangiorides, or as it is more commonly known, the daddy longlegs. T.H. Savoury says many kind and interesting things about Pholcus phalangiorides in the True Book About Spiders, such as it leads a peaceful married life with its mate, it shakes itself when it's startled, and it's a great traveller. Pholcus is a great traveller, he writes, and has spread itself over almost the whole of the habitable world. In Britain, it is the commonest in the southern counties, and it is only occasionally reported from higher latitudes. I remember being very surprised at finding it in 1918 near Harlech, and of course this region of North Wales is well known for the mildness of its climate. Another thing I know about T.H. Savoury is that on his 30th birthday, the 28th of April 1926, he was still thinking about spiders. This time, Onops pulcher. Onops pulcher is an extremely small pinkish-orange spider. If Onops pulcher is a male, it will measure 1.5 millimetres. If Onops pulcher is a female, it will measure 2 millimetres. It has 6 eyes, very close together. You might think that having 6 eyes, very close together, might be a bit off-putting, but not to T.H. Savoury. In fact, he reminds us that the Latin name Onops pulcher means the beautiful one with the oval eyes. As I said, he was thinking about Onops pulcher on the 28th of April 1926. However, what he actually saw was Onops domesticus, a relative of the Onops pulcher. I'm certain that the question now on everyone's mind is, what is the difference between Onops pulcher and Onops domesticus? T.H. Savoury has the answer. He says, structurally, the best distinction is the number of spines on the tibia of the first leg, 4 in Onops pulcher, 5 in Onops domesticus. Given that Onops pulcher and Onops domesticus are at most 2 millimetres in length, this observation means that T.H. Savoury must have had either extremely powerful eyesight or a very good telescope. About his sighting of the Onops domesticus on the 28th of April 1986, he writes, I recorded that the locality of the Onops domesticus in Britain when my eye detected a small orange speck on the ceiling as I was shaving on the morning of my 30th birthday, an incident which I relate here because it shows that a spider enthusiast should always be ready for the unexpected. Another thing I know about T.H. Savoury that you might not expect is that while he was thinking about spiders, he was wondering if they had a sense of humour. If you look at page 38 and 39 in the True Book About Spiders, you'll see that T.H. Savoury definitely thought about whether spiders find things funny. He says that a peculiar habit of most spiders is a sudden shooting out of its forelegs in response to a noise. A cough, a loud hand clip, or the bark of a dog is often enough to provoke this very remarkable reaction, which does not seem to mean anything or to serve any useful purpose. Perhaps the sound waves make the threads of the web vibrate as if 100 flies had all been caught at once, and the spider was assailed by sudden happenings all around it. Human beings often respond to minor surprises by laughter. Perhaps this is the way a spider laughs. In fact, T.H. Savoury thought a lot about why spiders do things, and sometimes he talked to his dog about them. In the True Book About Spiders, he writes, I recall a morning walk during which I saw a spider sitting in the middle of a half-finished web. My only companion was my dog, and I said to him, Now, why didn't it finish its web? The spider dropped before I had finished my question. One more thing I know about T.H. Savoury from the True Book About Spiders is that he wrote it all with a fountain pen. This is how he begins the book. It was a summer evening in 1912, and my friends and I were sitting in the shade of one of the great oaks that surround the Oldham cricket field. We had books with us, for the ordeal of an examination was but a few weeks ahead, and I had bought a new fountain pen in readiness for the trial. My thoughts that evening were of natural history. I had wanted for some time to choose a group of animals in which I could take a special interest, and I did not want it to be just birds or butterflies. As we sat there reading, a spider, which I know to have been a club Iona, dropped across the pages of my book, and Camel, his friend, I said, What about spiders? I recount the incident here as an introduction to a book written with the same fountain pen, in which I hope to tell its readers what fascinating animals spiders are, and how, for half a century, they have given me occupation and pleasure, and how, given the chance, they can provide interest and entertainment for anyone else. T.H. Savoury is not the only arachnologist I could have mentioned today. An obvious choice might have been Thomas Muffet, who was born in 1553 and died in 1604, and wrote Theatrum Insectorum, or theatre of insects, and was very interested in all kinds of arthropods, that is to say, vertebrates that have an external skeleton, a segmented body, and pairs of limbs, including spiders. Some people think that Thomas Muffet was Little Miss Muffet's dad, and that this is a good thing. But Little Miss Muffet, who sat on a tuffet eating her curds and whey, was frightened by a spider who sat down beside her. The spider frightened Miss Muffet away. Why didn't her father show her what T.H. Savoury shows us, that spiders are fascinating animals and you just need to give them a chance? So for this reason, Thomas Muffet did not make the cut. Another arachnologist I would have been enthusiastic about mentioning is Paul Hilliard, author of many books, from Arachnophobia to the Love of Spiders and The Private Life of Spiders, and who for many years was curator of all things spidery at the Natural History Museum. Like T.H. Savoury in his books, he reveals himself to be an enthusiast, a close observer, a person full of quiet humour and awe. The problem with Paul Hilliard is he is still alive, so the timing is off as far as raising him from the Z-list to the dead list is concerned. But we should be pleased about this. The world, I believe, more than ever, needs arachnologists. These people who look attentively and think kindly about strangeness. They make me ask, if we could be kind to the things that scared us, what would our world be like? Back to T.H. Savoury. After deciding to take a special interest in spiders in 1912, aged 16, and watching them and thinking about them very carefully in the years that followed, he went on to write many books. One of them, as you know, is the true book about spiders. Another book that he wrote is called Biology of the Cryptozoa. This is a very interesting title. If you look in the dictionary for the word cryptozoa, you find that it's a noun that means cryptozoic animals collectively. This means that you then have to look up the word cryptozoic, and that's when you find that cryptozoic means small animals that lead hidden lives. This in turn means that T.H. Savoury's book, Biology of the Cryptozoa, is about the biology of small animals such as scorpions, slugs, centipedes, and spiders that lead hidden lives. This is interesting for many reasons. One reason is that if you have ever felt that you yourself are a small animal leading a hidden life, it can make you feel grateful that someone has taken an interest. Another reason is to do with the etymology of the word cryptozoa, which comes from the Greek, from crypto meaning concealed, secret, and zoa meaning animal. And of course, from crypto we get crypt, which we use for grave or tomb or burial place. And what are we doing here? Raising people from Z-list to dead list, if not taking an interest in small animals who led hidden lives and bringing their achievements to light and making them live again. What are we doing here, if not creating a kind of biology of the cryptozoa? When you read a list of books T.H. Savoury wrote, you read titles like Introduction to Arachnology, Spiders and Other Arachnids, The Spider's Web, British Spiders, Their Haunts and Habits, Zoology, Physics Experiments at Home for Boys and Girls. As you'll recall, T.H. Savoury says that a spider enthusiast should always be ready for the unexpected, and one unexpected title in the list of books he wrote is The Art of Translation, in which he reveals his first name to be Theodore. Many people were enthusiastic about The Art of Translation when it was published in 1957, including one reviewer in The Economist who said it was an acute, humane examination, plentifully illustrated with examples, to say of a 150-page book that it rouses curiosities, which 4 times that number would hardly satisfy, is not criticism, it is high praise. Amongst the 150 pages, there's a chapter called Translator's Humour. In it, Theodore H. Savoury begins by saying that there is no aspect of man's activity in which there can be found no place for humour, no cause for laughter. If it were not so, life would be uninspiring in youth and intolerable in old age. Humour, therefore, must be expected to enter into translation, and in fact, it makes its appearance very early in the student's experience, or perhaps more accurately, in his inexperience, when his attempts to translate produce surprising or ludicrous results. As a student of languages, I have often produced surprising or ludicrous results. And Theodore H. Savoury says that this is nearly always the result of translating word for word and not considering the essence of what is being communicated. He says that actually, it can be nice to make surprising or ludicrous translations using electronic computers. This means that in 1957 there was some kind of Google Translate, and Theodore H. Savoury in this chapter gives some examples of its translation. For example, when the phrase, "the spirit is willing but the flesh is weak," is inputted into the 1957 electronic computer translator, the translation is, "the whiskey is agreeable but the meat had gone bad." When hydraulic ram is inputted, the translation is, "aquatic male sheep." Although it is amusing to generate bad translations, it's not a good idea to use them when you need to get a point across. So, what is it that makes a good translator, according to Theodore H. Savery? He writes in the opening chapter to The Art of Translation that the habit of speaking in different languages is peculiar to man. Thus, there has arisen a situation that is biologically unique, the existence of a species in which some individuals are unable to understand the words and expressions of some other individuals. He says that translation is the surmounting of this obstacle and is made possible by an equivalence of thought that lies behind its different verbal expressions. No doubt this equivalence is traceable to the fact that men of all nations belong to the same species. At first, it might seem that the true book about spiders is a million miles away from the art of translation, but I think that it's not that difficult to see how they were written by the same man. Both of them are about understanding lives and languages that are not his own, finding what there is in common, being interested in what is different. Both of them are studious, thoughtful, informative, and playful. In the true book about spiders, he writes, "The last and perhaps most remarkable thing about spiders is that so many people are afraid of them. They seem to have a feeling about spiders which is far stronger than an understandable dislike for a creature that spins annoying cobwebs in their houses. They really seem to dread them. The peculiar feature of this terror is that there is no reason for it, and the sufferers themselves cannot explain it. It is to be hoped that the reader of this book, even if they begin to read it with a mild distaste, will quickly come to look upon all spiders as wonderful animals with a fascination of their own." Theodore H. Savery was enthusiastic about many strange, unloved creatures. He found in them a beauty and intelligence. Because of this, I can only conclude that if he is raised from Z-list to dead-list, it will be okay for the others that didn't make it. I think when he's on the list, he will simply say to the others, "My door is open. Come and join me. I am always interested in fellow small animals who lead or who have led hidden lives. My own life was about marvel and wonder and feeling enthusiastic and generous and hoping that others will feel enthusiastic and generous too." In conclusion, I give you Theodore Horace Savery as he has revealed himself to me. Observer, enthusiast, teacher, humorist, chance giver, translator, and friend and champion of all small animals who lead hidden lives.
So there you have it. That was Zainab Alec talking about Mr. Savery. It's lovely, isn't it? And Horace as well. Yeah, good. Yes, thank you for listening to this episode of the Z-List Deadlist. I will try and do another one ASAP, but as some of you have been made aware, I have got a lot on my plate right now. Things are a bit busy, but I'm enjoying. I like making this podcast. That's the thing. I like researching it. I like doing stuff for it, but it is very difficult to actually find the time to actually get things done. Particularly when I've got to introduce an episode of Making History in a few days' time. Right, it's going out in a week or so, and it's about incest. That's the theme. How are me and Tom Hollands going to introduce that topic? Because normally he goes, "Oh, what have you been doing this week?" "Well, I read this in the news." And it's like, "No, what did you do over Christmas, Tom?" Incest. No, it doesn't. No, it's not good. Anyway, it'll be fine. I'm sure we'll find a way to, peg it to something. Because I think there was a thing in the news. It'll be fine. Will it? Anyway, you can listen to that and all other episodes, as I said. If you go to izzy.com, you can, pre-order my book from there. You can do everything. So do that. iszi.com. That would be awesome. But yeah, I just like that little whole talk, because I like the idea that you're judged, not because we don't know what Mr. Savery's life was like. We don't know. He might have spoken with his mouth open. Well, not spoken. That's what everybody does, is he? Everybody does that, apart from ventriloquists. But I meant chewed food with his mouth open. We don't know. He might have terrible. He might have to. Bet he left the seat up, right? But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because all we know about him was what he cared about, and what he cared about is tiny little spiders, and the big ones, but the tiny little ones too. I will be back when I can. You've been listening to the Z-List Deadlist podcast. To find out more, please visit izzy.com, that is iszi.com. You can support the show by sharing this episode with your friends and on social media. Also, if you want to leave a donation, that helps pay for things, which really makes me want to do this as well. So you can use the PayPal button on izzy.com. So thank you very much. Also pre-order my book, and also have a brilliant year, because let's face it, 2020 has started quite, well, in a slightly terrifying manner, and you deserve to have a lovely day.